Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Temenos Academy, and happy Iranian New Year's, which is on Wednesday. So it's a very important time for the Iranians. It's the spring equinox. Tuesday, excuse me. Tuesday, yeah. Tomorrow, yes, tomorrow. Well, it's usually the 21st of March, which is Wednesday, but it's Tuesday this year. Anyway, it's a real pleasure to welcome Dr. Qamشه back to Temenos. You know, he's been here at Temenos every year for the last 16 years, lecturing to us. He first lectured in 1994, I believe, and in 1995 he gave 10 lectures on Rumi, a seminar, when Catherine Rain was still alive, actually, and those are all still on tape available. But for those that don't know Dr. Qamشه, let me give a brief introduction to him. He got his doctorate at Tehran University in the 60s in Islamic theology and philosophy. And since the 1980s, he's been a celebrity in Iran for his lectures in this field, the field of Persian literature, Islamic philosophy, and theology. And there's a whole table of his books over there for those of you who read Persian. His most recent book is called 365 Days with the Quran, which in the space of 1 year went into 10 editions and has sold 25,000 copies in Iran. It's become a bestseller, a runaway bestseller. It's only 750 pages, and so I highly recommend it. But he's published lots of books on Rumi. He has 365 Days with Rumi in Persian as well. We will translate these in the next 300 years. So that's his writings are mostly in Persian, but he's well known as a speaker here in Temenos and in other venues in the West, and he's been to Australia, the US, and all over Europe to lecture. Anyway, his books are for sale over there for any of you that want to buy them. Dr. Qamشه is a sort of bridge between Eastern and Western culture, a very unique bridge. And he's actually got a book called 365 Days with English Literature, where he shows this bridge, how Persian literature corresponds to English literature. It's a lovely book. Unfortunately, it's in Persian. Anyway, he brings this, one of his abilities is to communicate to all levels of people. So he'll talk over the heads of academics, but it will mean perfect sense to the taxi drivers in the audience, if you know what I mean. I don't know what I mean, but what I mean is something like he is able to communicate across classes, and he has this sort of unique popularity which transcends the divide of various layers of society. So he's very ecumenical and broad-minded, and that, of course, comes from the fact that he's speaking from the heart himself, and he's always addressing the heart of matters. So it's not as if he's trying to expound something in a very difficult manner so that you know how difficult it is. No, he's trying to expound something in a that's very difficult in a very simple manner, so you know that the heart of the matter is this. And so this is his unique quality, his ecumenical reach to show the correspondences between Western theology, philosophy, religion, and Eastern theology, philosophy, and religion, specifically the Persian mystical tradition, which of course is the most, in terms of literature, is the richest, at least in poetry, in the world. Anyway, we're very privileged to have him once again here at Temenos, and please give him a warm welcome. Thank you.
That's all right. You know, symmetry is very important because it gives you some imbalance when you're talking, when the table or anything is imbalanced. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, the Temenus friends, and all lovers of eternal beauties, eternal values of beauty, truth, and the good. As Dr. Lewison mentioned, the glorious chariot of Nowruz, of spring, because our Nowruz is on the first day of spring, and it is a very particular time. It is not arbitrary. It is not at 12 o'clock or at 1 o'clock or in the middle of the day. It is exactly at 1 second, even, you could say, when the sun shines perpendicularly on the equator. It is the time, it's the exact moment when everything becomes equal, when justice is re-established in the world. And the Solomon, or Jamshid, the legendary king of Persia of the time of golden age of Iran, when there was no death, when there was no ailment, when there was no poverty, when there was no war, there were no devils. Even the devils and demons were employed by Jamshid. So at that time, Maran Ruz ra Ruz no khwandand. When all the devils were defeated, Jamshid sat on the throne. You cannot sit on the throne while the demons are prowling around. He sat on the throne, and then that day was the first day of Nowruz, the first day of the year. So, besides that, we see that the glorious chariot of Easter is also on the way, is approaching. This is another resurrection, because spring is one resurrection of nature. It is the most miraculous event in the world, and people don't look deep into it. It is marvelous. You can never lose your wonder that such auspicious happening comes into being. And so this is another resurrection. The second resurrection is the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the spiritual resurrection in the time of Easter. And I hope that these two resurrections would teach us to pave the way for a third resurrection, a renaissance back into perennial philosophy. Perennial philosophy is could be a third resurrection for all humanity. It is the religion of perennial philosophy, or you could say it is the religion of love. It is the religion in which we were born. We were not born without a religion. We are born with a religion, and that is the religion of love. We all love beauty, we all love truth, and we all love the good. So I think that if all people go after the love, go after what they love, then the whole world would be dancing and reveling because they are with their beloved. I wonder how is it that people, while they can be with their beloved, they go to the devil of avarice, the devil of selfishness, the devil of so and so, of ambition. I am the greatest, and these devils, we can easily go to our nature. Our nature says this is good. Our nobility, let's show our nobility. Shakespeare says, what a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty. So we have to rise up and show that we are great to all the devils, so that we would run away from this world. So we are going to speak about Rumi and perennial philosophy. Rumi is one of the messengers of perennial philosophy. Of course, perennial philosophy is the common heritage of all mankind. Even in primitive cults, you find the traces of this perennial philosophy. All philosophers, I could say, even before Socrates, Pythagoras, Xenophanes, and then we have Socrates, who declared that the whole world is my country. I am a cosmopolitan. I am a dweller of the earth, not of Greece or any other limited place in the world. He was cosmopolitan. He was a globalized person in those days when the earth was not still a globe. But he could understand that it is no more than a globe. Of course, I should say that in those days, Aristotle and Pythagoreans, they knew that the earth was round, spheres. So it is no wonder that they believed in globalization, that the globe is just a small place and it is just moving towards eternal fire. I'm happy that this fire of this candle in memory, in the sacred memory of Dr. Rain, is always aflame. And this is, of course, just a candle, but it is a symbol of the Promethean fire which brings our heart to life. You remember that when Othello was going to strangle Desdemona, he said, if I put out this candle, I can somehow rekindle it. But if I put out the life of Desdemona, where can I find that Promethean fire that can bring life back to her? We can never. But we have that fire. We are going to speak of that fire. آتش عشق است کاندر نی فتاد. We want to speak of the flute reed, or the magic flute of Rumi. You know, the magic flute of Mozart is very famous, but the magic flute of Rumi is much longer and has hundreds and hundreds of movements, and in each movement he has explained the secrets of love. He believes that this religion of love and this religion of perennial philosophy, this is in not only in literature, it can be in painter. A painter can be following the perennial philosophy because he gives the basic ideas which is in the heart of every man. For example, Michelangelo, his works have been reduced into four words: creation, incarnation. Some of his paintings are creation, incarnation, salvation, damnation. See, that's all. Perennial philosophy is about God, first of all. It is a metaphysic which believes in a universal, single God who is the source of all creation, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, and he is one, and one cannot be two. And in other religions, for example in Christianity or in Zoroastrian, when we have dualism or three, it is just superficial. Down deep behind the curtain you see that it's one. Even in Christianity, great Christian writers and poets, they all believe that there is only one God, and this is just three manifestations. As a Persian poet says, has a dialogue with a beautiful girl in a church. A Persian Muslim, he says, Dar kalisa be dilbari tarsa, I happened to see a very fair maid in the church. And I said, how is it that you believe in three gods, God the Father and the God the Son and the Holy Spirit? She smiled, and with her smile just reconciled everything and said, don't accuse us of Trinity or believing in three or two. We believe in one, because that one may have hundreds and hundreds of manifestations, and this is three manifestations. It doesn't mean that there are three separate ultimate reality. There is one ultimate reality in the world. So you see that all great poets, I would say from Sophocles, the playwright, the dramatist, Euripides, they all preached the religion of perennial philosophy, or you could say perennialism. And then we come to such great poets like Shakespeare and Dante. Shakespeare, indeed, he has actually rebuilt the perennial philosophy of his time. And people like Marsilio Ficino before Shakespeare, who was a source of inspiration for Shakespeare in some mystic inclinations you see in Shakespeare. Shakespeare is more known to be a great poet, a great dramatist. He is a mystic. But mysticism doesn't mean just to renounce the world, and he could live a life full of revelry and love and enjoyment without losing anything. He can be a great Sufi, he can be a great mystic, and he was. He could see all the basic elements of mysticism you can find in Shakespeare. First of all, he introduces God in many, many different forms and different expressions of how God behaves in this world. And he has not only done that, but he has also tried to justify the ways of God. Martin Lings, in one of his books, Sacred Shakespeare in the Light of Sacred Art, he says that he has treated 10 of Shakespeare's plays, and then finally he says Shakespeare has succeeded to justify the ways of God for man, that he is right. If it is even if there is suffering and adversity, how blessing is the uses of adversity, how blessing is the uses of adversity. So, which has two jewels on his head, which like a toad, ugly and venomous as it is, yet wears jewels on his head, the jewel of wisdom. Behind every suffering there is the jewel of wisdom. So we come to such great philosophers like Farabi, for example. He has written a book to reconcile Aristotle and Plato, and to say that basically they follow the same idea, and that is perennial philosophy. It doesn't make any difference whether you approach this way or that way. There are different approaches to the same garden. And then you have such great poets in Europe, Goethe, Emerson in America, William Blake, such great poets. And I can say John Bunyan, he has written actually a book of perennial philosophy, because I gave his book to a Muslim, and after 1 week he said, "This is wonderful. I have wept with joy reading this. while it was written from the point of view of a Christian, but so it means that it is perennial philosophy. When you get a book and you can enjoy it, whether it is a book of a Muslim or a Zoroastrian, if you are impressed, if you see that it touches your heart, then this is perennial philosophy. One of the wonders, I think, of short stories in English literature, American literature, is the story of the other wise man. This is really wonderful that one Iranian called Ardavan, at the time of about the time when Jesus was born, he was one of the three. He was the fourth man of the three wise men who went to visit Jesus Christ, and they have the night of Epiphany. Everybody knows about them. But he goes, and on the way he loses the way. He cannot join his friends. He has sold all his properties and turned them into 3 pieces of jewels in order to gift it to Jesus Christ. Means all his life, whatever he had. When we say the gift of magi, the gift of magi, it means all you have, the best you have. That's your gift. So he was going to gift all his life to Jesus Christ, but he couldn't find him. For 32 years he was looking after Jesus, and he was asking here and there where this great king is living. I cannot find him. And finally, when he dies, Jesus comes to him and he says, I received your gifts. And we see that an Iranian could live the life of a Christian, which is consented by Jesus Christ, appreciated by Jesus Christ. So this is perennial philosophy. He didn't know anything about Christianity, but he lived the life a good Christian. You see in Les Miserables of Victor Hugo, Monsieur Myriel, he is a churchman, he is a preacher, he is a bishop. But he lives such a life that every Muslim appreciates, every Zoroastrian appreciates. So this is the perennial philosophy. Even in music, they said that Mozart is perennial philosophy because he speaks of God. He speaks of 3 things. First of all, of God as the source of all blessing, and then of the soul as being identical or similar, at least, to his Lord. Some say it is identical because we are, according to the Quran, he says, I breathed from my own spirit into him. So our life, our breath is the breath of God. And says, فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها. This is your nature, which is God's nature, and I created you according to my own nature. So Mozart gives good ideas and good tidings of eternity. He shows what a lovely world is awaiting for you in the next world. Because this music cannot come from this side, it comes from the other side. Handel, for example, in his Messiah and Hallelujah, he takes you to paradise. He takes your eternal soul goes back to paradise. That is the whole story of perennial philosophy. That there is a God, and there is a soul, and there is a love between this soul and that God, and then the relation is not even Lord and slave. It is lover on both sides. Friend and friend. I am your friend, according to the Quran. He says, I am your friend. Be my friend. So Mozart makes you a friend of God. Bach, when he was asked, Why are you going to the church and play piano and play organ? He said, because I want to take people to paradise. You see? So you see that in all arts, in all that is beauty, in all that is truth, all sciences, there are, particularly recently, more and more scientists are writing that God's signature is everywhere to be seen in the world. Signature in the cell. Look deep into the cell and you will see that it is sign that this is me. So Rumi is inspired by Quran. Quran is the book of eternal, perennial philosophy. Why? Because he says that whatever your religion is, no matter whether you are a Muslim or you are a Christian or a Jew or a Sabbath or whatever it is, if you believe in God, if you do believe in Allah, Allah is not a particular name. It means the one who everybody is wondering who he is. Allah, Alha, means I'm wondering who he is. Everybody is wondering. No matter, you say Krishna. Krishna has almost the same idea. So it is not, according to Shakespeare, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So it is, some people have a prejudice that no, the word Allah is not to be translated. When they are translating the Quran, they say, in the name of Allah. What is Allah? Allah is God. When you put it aside, it means that Allah is not God. It is something else. It belongs to the Muslims. While we want to reconcile all different names with what is named, with the musamma. So, Rumi, following the Quran, is step by step following the perennial philosophy. Quran says, first of all, there are 3 conditions for salvation. And that is all. You believe in God as a source of power, as a source of everything, as a source of beauty, as a source of, actually Rumi says, as a source of coyness, as a source of tannozi, or as a source of dilbari. When anybody who wins your heart and you become a lover, it is he, because there is only one beloved. Others are just manifestation of that same beauty. So the fair maids here, you see them, they are just reflections of his face. Actually, some people say he silently has followed man out of paradise when they were driving him away, and God came with them, and that was Eve. Eve was God himself who followed us. See, Rumi says, Oust gul o sabze o bagh o bahar. He is the grass, he is the tree, he is the sun. Look at the whole world. ما در پیاله عکس رخ یار دیدیم. We have seen in the cup reflected the beauty of our universal beloved. So this is the second. The first is God. The second is that you believe that you have not been created just purposeless or for nothing, just living a few days here and going away. What does that mean? It's a very cold story. It's no good story. That once upon a time there was something was called man, and then he died, and that's finished. Is that a good story? Who would be charmed by that story in this world? So, but when you say, well, there was there was a bird who happened to come down. And in this world, he remembers every now and then, as Catherine Rain, he has done a wonderful job in showing how moment to moment you remember, oh, this is my beloved. I remember that I have seen her somewhere. You see someone is a good person. He is so trustful. He is so truthful. He is so kind. He is so generous. You love him. And such a person is the masterpiece of God. The masterpiece of God is a good person. So we love a good person, and a good person will, according to Rumi and many others in Persian literature, just the bird will sit for a moment on the branch and then flies away. That's the story. It goes back to paradise. So this is the second, that we have not, this is not a purposeless life. It is not absurditism. Absurditism is good for people who have done improper acts, and then they want to excuse themselves somehow, say, well, the whole world is for nothing, and then so what I have done is nothing also. It's like Macbeth. Macbeth, out of his sinful acts, tends towards absurditism. Absurditism is the child of dismay, the child of despair. When you despair, then you turn towards absurditism. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. When the life signifies nothing, then all values crash down, and all joy and happiness and art and beauty and all the good and cherished things in the world would die away with that. So the second is that we have been created for immortality. Somebody was consoling a great artist who was about to die, said that don't worry, your artistic works will continue to live in this world. He said, I don't want immortality of my works. I want immortality of my own being. I want my individuality is indestructible. I want to hear that our individuality is indestructible. It cannot be perished away because it is of the same essence of God. It is not to be separated because it is simple. It has no parts, no ingredients, so that you would tear it to pieces. And thirdly, this is the second, and thirdly, that you have to do the right deed. You have to follow your own nature and see that what is good and do it. Is it good to smile at people? Is it good to serve people when they are in need? Is it good to have a good temper? Is it good to be generous? Is it good to do some good job in the society while we are receiving so many blessings? We have to do something. Is it good? Then your duty is quite clear. Do what you enjoy. Do what you like. Your like and dislike is your Bible, is your gospel. You move in the society and say, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, I like this, I like that. So from morning till night you see things that you don't like and things that you like. I remember that in Shakespeare, in one of his plays, he is speaking of some neighbors and they are blaming them. But the other person says, well, these neighbors of ours are very good. They serve us. He said, how do they serve us? They are very bad people. He said, well, they give us a list of all the things we have not to do. It's a very good job. So we can see what we like. If you like it, then go toward, do what you like. If it is very good to do one's promise, to be punctual, to be kind, to be just, to be fair, then these are things you have to follow. So if you do these three things, then according to the Quran there is no fear, لا خوف علیهم ولا هم یحزنون, no fear of the future, no sorrow of the past. Now we don't have time to go through the ocean of Masnavi and the works of Rumi, but we'll just آب دریا را اگر نتوان کشید هم به قدر تشنگی باید چشید. If we cannot put the sea into a pitcher, but at least we can quench our thirst from it. So I had prepared a full, almost small book, leaflet, but I couldn't prepare it to distribute it today, but maybe later you will be given a copy of this. These are some selections of Rumi's emphasis on perennial philosophy and his freedom from all sorts of prejudices, from all sorts of narrow-mindedness. He is in harmony with the whole world. No one in the world would say, what is that? He is a prejudiced man. He is looking from his own limited, narrowed ideas. It's not that. But, you know, the height, I should say, the highlight, the zenith of Persian literature is the beginning of the prelude, you could say, the prologue to Masnavi, the rhyming couplet of Rumi. It is wonderful. It is, I say, it is magic flute of Rumi, because magic flute has been also praised as being written only by God. Great musicians believe that magic flute of Mozart cannot be written just except by God. And the same thing is true with Rumi. And Rumi himself says that this, so far as my flute is on the lip of my beloved, so this is he or she. She is playing in me, through me. So I am just, I'm nobody. I am nobody. I am just a veil. So we want to read the prologue of Masnavi, which is called the Nayname, or the letter, or the poem, or you could say ode to, in praise of the flute. Or listen, hearken, hearken to the flute. I will read, because actually the whole Masnavi have been summarized in this divache, in this prelude. You know, there is in literature there is a figure of speech, in which, a figure of speech which is called foreshadowing, and that is when the poet, in the beginning of the book, gives the whole story to the end, but in very brief and symbolic wording, very minimalistic approach to the whole idea. So I read it line by line to speak about it and see that all the three things, the God, the love between God and man, the man himself, who man is, and what is this, and what is recompensation theory. Recompensation theory actually speaks, it's a part of perennial philosophy, because if you do this and then you have to wait for that, this is a world which is responsive to your behavior. It is not just dead. It is responsive to what you say, what you do, how you look. So This is the main idea that you have heard. Once I said to a friend that in the beginning of Macbeth, you read a wonderful phrase that is, fair is foul, foul is fair. That is the devilish announcement. That is the most devilish announcement. All people who want to do some criminal act, they have to recite it. That fair is foul and foul is fair. All Rumi and all Shakespeare is actually repudiating, rejecting this idea that I'll show you that fair is fair and foul is foul. And it shows Shakespeare was a great, great master in that. He says that you cannot wash your bloody hands by the waters by the 7 waters of Neptune, but rather the 7 seas, the 7 oceans would be incarnadine, would be red because of your hands. You cannot trammel up the consequences. You can easily shirk your duty, but you can never shirk the consequences of shirking your duty. When you shirk your duty, it's okay, it's up to you. You're free. But you are not free to accept, to escape the consequences of shirking your duty, shirking your duty. So, we will go through it in the name. Oh, let me tell you something else. That even before the Neiname, before the flute symphony, there are some Arabic expression in the beginning of the book. I'm not sure who has written this, but they say that it was written by Rumi himself. That this book is the root of the roots of the roots of religion. You see, this is perennial philosophy. It means it goes to the root of the root of the root of all ideas. So, in the name of God, here you don't have it. I will start from here. Listen to the reed, how it tells the tale, complaining separation. So that's the story of man. We have been somewhere else. We are here now. We are bemoaning. We are lamenting. We are complaining that in this abode of exile, what are you doing here? We have to do something to come back. Saying, ever since I was parted. Yes, I can read from here. Listen. Ever since I was parted from the reed bed, my lament has caused man and women moan. I want a bosom torn by severance, that I may unfold the pain of love desire. I cannot tell it to everybody, because people, when they are not in love, they cannot have a feeling about it. Shakespeare says, if ever you fell in love, then in the sweet pangs of it, remember me. Because at that time you can understand what I say. So, Rumi says, I want a heart torn to pieces by separation. You have forgotten all about your origin. And then there is no lamenting, there is no there is no shedding tears. So it means that you are completely ignorant of your fortune. Everyone who is left far from his source wishes back to the time when he was united with it. In every company I uttered my wailful note. I consorted with the unhappy and with them that rejoice. Rumi believes that there are two things which is amplifies your feeling. One is music, the other is wine. When you drink wine, if you are a good man, you become better. Rumi says, باده می در هر سری شر می کند، آنچنان را آنچنان تر می کند. گر خورد عاقل نکوفر می شود، ور خورد بدخوی بدتر می شود. If a bad-tempered person would drink it, he would still be worse than that he was. But if he is good, then he shows himself, his secrets. There's nothing bad in him to reveal. So he is revealed. When you are drunk, you are revealed. Who is afraid of being revealed? The person who is no good. When you are good, then, okay, this is me. In every company I uttered my wailful note. I consorted with the unhappy and with them that rejoice. Everyone became my friend from his own opinion. None sought out my secrets from within me. My secret is not far from my plains, but ear and eye lack the light whereby it should be apprehended. You see, hundreds or thousands of people read Masnavi now in Iran or around the world. But they often complain, it is very difficult, we don't understand. What is the commentary? What commentary do you recommend so that we would read? Rumi says it doesn't need a commentary. It needs a torn heart. It means earnestness. It means sincerity. It means love. If you become a lover, then you will easily understand. You understand the language of love. Body is not veiled from soul, nor soul from the body, yet none is permitted to see the soul. This noise of the reed is fire. This is the Promethean fire. It is not wind, because when you breathe it seems to be wind, but it is not wind because it burns you. Nor soul, is fire. It is not wind who has not this fire may be known. If you don't have this fire, then you're nobody. Because without love, without the fire of love, we would descend down to the animal level. از جمادی مردم و نامی شدم. This is the famous piece by Rumi. It is so famous that, and people have read it so many times, that I heard one of the professors once told me that if a lecturer next time comes and recites this poem, I would tear my garment to pieces in anger, because so many times, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times you have heard. But I would read it once again. Yes, because it is deeper than you cannot finish it. You cannot finish with it. You see, every new time you get something new. As jamadi mordamun, I was dead. Yes, I died from mineral and plant became. I rose. That is one resurrection. Died from plant and took the sentient frame. Then that's animal. Died from the beast and donned a human dress, the vesture of the noble vesture of our human dress. When by my dying did I ever grow less? So many times I died and I became better, and it came to a higher place. So why should I be afraid of the next time? Another time from manhood must die to soar with angel pinions through the sky. Midst angels also I must lose my place, and then I will fly back to angels. And then even that is not my station. the station of man is infinity. We do not consent, we do not compromise with any limited thing. How many years would you like to live? 100, 200, 700, a million years? You are not satisfied. You want immortality. Because after a million years, then you will die. For good. So no difference. So man would not stop at any place, both in space and in time. In both of them, we want the infinity, because we cannot be contained by these limited things. Rumi says, the خوشدلی و طرب در جهان نمی گنجد. You know, because when you are happy, you become bigger and bigger. When you are sorrowful, you become smaller and smaller. You just sit down somewhere and you give the least volume to yourself. But when suddenly you hear some good tidings, you rise. You need more place. And then if the good tidings, if the news is exceptionally joyful, then you will start dancing. And then it is not good place for dancing. I want more and more and more place. And then Rumi says, the whole world is too small for my dance. I am so happy, my happiness cannot be contained. I want an infinite piste of dancing so that I could express my happiness. So man is infinite in all respects. You can only compare it with God. With anything else, they would stop and you go on. Even with Gabriel at the time of ascent of Muhammad, they came and came and came to a level, and then Gabriel stopped and said, well, this is my end. But man has no end. Has no end. So, midst angels also I must lose my place. Since everything shall perish, have I his face. كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه, save his face. This is a verse in the Quran that everything will perish except the face of God. We are the face of God. That's why we don't perish. Imperishable we are. And then the last line is wonderful. Let me be naught. Naught means nothingness. What is nothingness? Because nothingness is no good thing. While in Persian literature and Indian literature, when they speak of nirvana and nothingness, it means it is no limitation. When you say nothing, it means no limitation. It doesn't mean non-existence. It means full existence. When you are naught, when you are nothing, you remember that Emily Dickinson says, I am nobody. When you are nobody, then you are everybody. When you are somebody, you are somebody. But when you are nobody, then you are everybody. You can associate with different people. I'm nobody. I am not limited in a particular religion, in a particular idea. I can make friends with you. What do you say? So I become naught, finally. And then something within me sings that we are returning to our Lord. Because according to the Quran, death is not going to the earth, going back to the earth. Dust into dust is not the story of the soul. It is the story of the body. So, several times in the Quran it says that when you die, you are paving your way towards your Lord who knows everything. So be careful that when you are going to Him, you are all right. There is a story that I have brought it here, you will read it, that once a friend of Joseph came to see Joseph after many years. And then Joseph had become a king at that time. When he was a child, they were playing with each other, and now he was a king. They sat together and they spoke of the lost stories and past stories. And then Joseph said, well, what have you brought as a gift for me? This is the custom among us, that everyone who comes to a friend has to bring something, to bring a gift. You know, Iranians were the first people who brought gift to Jesus Christ. And this tradition of giving gift is from Iranians, to give gift, and a wise gift, the gift of magi. You read the story of O. Henry, the Christmas story of O. Henry, where the bride and the bridegroom, the newly married couple, gave everything they had, the best and most cherished things, to make it a gift for the other. So Joseph said, it is customary, it is a tradition that you bring me a gift. He said, well, what could I do for you? What could I bring for you? You are the king, you are most beautiful, you are young, you are everything. What can I bring for you to make you happy? The only thing I could think of is I brought you a mirror so that you would look at yourself. This is the most precious thing. Your face and your beauty is the most precious thing in the world. I have brought you this. So Rumi says that purify your heart and turn it into a mirror. It is not necessary to do anything for God, to do any services. Just purify your heart. And then when he looks at your heart, he sees himself and he enjoys. So I'm sorry we don't have to read even this single piece. This fire, it's the fire of love that is in the reed. It's the fervor of love that is in the wine. Even the wine, in another place, Rumi says, I am not intoxicated by the wine. The wine was intoxicated by me. The form, this body, I have not been created by this body, but this body was created by me. Since I wanted to appear, then I created this body. So قالب از ما هست شد، باده از ما مست شد. The wine became intoxicated out of our love. So whoever saw a poison and antidote like the reed. No, he calls the flute poison and antidote. Why? They are two opposite things. He said yes, because this flute and this song reminds you of separation. So it is poison, the poison of separation, that you are far, far, far away from your beloved, far, far away from true happiness, far away from your desires. You are away. But at the same time, he gives you good tidings that you are going back to him and you are going to be united. So this is the antidote. This is the antidote. And who has seen an antidote and poison coming together in the reed? Whoever saw a sympathizer and a longing lover like the reed. The reed tells the way full of blood and recounts the stories of the passion of Majnun. Majnun and Layli are very famous, like Romeo and Juliet. And there is a funny story by Rumi that the Caliph of Muslims once he had heard about Layli and Majnun, and he wondered, how is it that this lady, who is that? How much beauty does she have, who has made such a person like Majnun frenzied and mad? He said, okay, bring this lady so that I look at her. When they brought her before him, he looked at her and said, "Well, are you Lady?" In a depreciating way. "Are you Lady?" He said, "Yes, but you are not Majnun." "I'm Lady, but you are not Majnun." There needs a Majnun to understand the beauty of Lady. In our woe, the days have become untimely. Our days travel hand in hand with burning griefs. If our days, you see now, this goes back to eternal perennial philosophy. If our days are gone, let them go. Because people are constantly grieving, "Oh, another year, what added to me this year in my birthday, what can I do? It is 31, it is 32, it is 70, it is 80. And then they are grieving for this growing and growing. I remember that once Kathleen Rain, hail to her, she said that I am the youngest of all. And they asked, "How is it that you are youngest?" He said, "Well, who is young? When you call a person young, it is a person who sees so many years before him, yes? When you are 20, you have at least another 60 years to live. So the more you have time before you, the younger you are. You are 70, there's not so much in front of you. If you are 10, then there is another 70 before you. So the more time you have in front of you, the younger you are." So she said, "Now look at me. I have infinite time before me, in front of my eyes. I see that there is so many infinite years I am to live. So I'm young." It really makes you young, because you are full of energy, you are full of impulse to live, you are full of happiness, and happiness creates. True happiness has certain signs. If you are happy and you are doing no good, then you are not happy. You think you are happy. A happy person is a generous person. A happy person is a person who never gets bored, is a person who never gets angry. If you get angry, then you are not happy. After a time you are angry, so you are not happy. Happiness is the greatest alchemy of the world, and God is the happiest of all. And the happier you are, according to perennial philosophy, the happier you are, your religion is stronger, and your faith is nearer to certainty. So I don't know how much time we have. No more time.
5 minutes.
Okay.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. So I just bring it to an end, and that is maybe sufficient for make you more thirsty. It doesn't quench your, but it makes you thirsty. And thirst, Rumi says, be after thirst, don't be after water. Because if you are after thirst, then water will come to you. Be thirsty, and then from every side just streams out water. I want to read a piece by Walt Whitman. You know, Walt Whitman was a global man. He was following the perennial philosophy in full, and he was friend of all. His salutation, salut au monde, when he is sending a salutation to all people of the world, he names one by one, to the Iranian, to the English people, to so and so, to this Tanzanian, to Malaysian. He is calling everybody that I love you, and I send you my salutation and my greeting. So he says, I read this. Finally, the morality, virtue, said Marcus Aurelius. Actually, Marcus Aurelius, in his work, famous work, Meditations. If you read meditation, you are reading your gospel. You are reading, everybody can have a feeling that he is reading his sacred text, while it is not the sacred text of any religion. But this is perennial philosophy, Marcus Aurelius. And then he goes on to say, perhaps, indeed, the efforts of the true poets, founders, religious men, literatures, all ages, have been and will and ever will be, our time and times to come, essentially the same, to bring. What is the job of all poets, of all artists, of all founders of religions, of all sects, of whoever is claiming to do something for humanity? He says, all their job, I will tell you what is their job. The job of all artists, of all poets, is to bring people from their persistent strayings. They are going the wrong way, persistently, and they insist that they have to go astray, to go the wrong way. To stop them, bring people back from their persistent strayings and sickly abstractions. Abstractions are the modernism, so-and-so-ism. There are so many isms that there are abstractions, and everybody believes in some structuralism, deconstructionalism, so and so. They are just abstractions. Do something instead of giving so many theories which is of no avail to human beings. And what is that? And sickly abstractions to the costless average. Let's go back to the costless. It is cheapest. The way to happiness is the cheapest way, because you don't need to pay anything. You just need to be yourself, to follow your love. If you want to tell the truth, then it is very easy. If you want to tell the lie, you have to think about it. What sort of lie how I should match it with the other lies I have already said. How I can do that, I can do that. But when you say the truth, then it is, you are the lion. So, the costless average, divine, original, concrete. We come back to our divine concrete. Concrete here doesn't mean clay or body or things like that. It means really existing. Really existing. If we could bring people back from these strings of selfishness and ambition and avarice, which is against their own life. Not, of course, they just trample other people on the way, but the greatest damage comes to themselves, because no bad person, according to perennial philosophy, can feel happiness. All bad people must despair quietly. No good person will ever be sorrowful, because you are happy. Other people are doing, you are doing your best to sympathy with the sufferings of the people, and you are not creating any suffering. And if you cannot do more than that, you are not responsible for that. You are always happy. A person who does his duty is always happy. So, I hope that this highway of our Lord, the highway to heaven,